March Madness is one of my favorite times of the year. I love it. I love it. I genuinely, since the day I graduated college, the Thursday and Friday, the opening weekend of the tournament, I take off work. Some of my college friends take off work. And every single year we get back together at my place. I host it. We have an amazing time. And I decided, you know what I want to do? I want to bring one of my favorite things in sports, March Madness, and bring it to MLB The Show. So today, that's what we're doing. Sit back, kick your feet up, because it's March Madness in MLB The Show 24. To start with the rules, the first thing here is that these teams are seeded 1 through 30. Basically, to get these seeds, I went into online rated, where it shows the various team overall ranks, and that's what they were. They were ranked 1 through 30. Now, that was pulled on Sunday, March 17th. So if anything switched between then and now, when the video drops, when this is all being done, that is why there is a difference. With this tournament having 30 teams, there are 2 teams that receive a first round bye. In this case, it's going to be the 1-seeded Braves and the 2-seeded Dodgers. This is going to be a single elimination tournament. Although baseball is built around series, this is a lot of games to go through, and it was a ton of fun to set up, and I'm excited to see the end result of this tournament. Hopefully you guys are excited too. It is a one and done. To create the feeling of an MLB rotation, each team is going to be using a 3-man rotation. So if you start game 1, you cannot start again until game 4 if your team is still in the tournament. The order of the rotation is going to be determined by what the roster has in the game. So if your favorite team doesn't have the highest overall pitcher as their #1 starter, I apologize. Take it up with SDS. I love those guys, but hey, I didn't do it. I just took what was in front of me. Each game between the opening round and the Elite 8, the team with the better seed, the lower seed, is going to have home field at their own home field. The Final Four for this tournament is going to be held at the Kingdom in Seattle. New field this year in the game, a fun field, so I thought it'd be a good place to host our first ever Final Four. The last bit, very similar to the pitching rotations, we will not be altering the lineups. So if for some reason a top tier player on your team is sitting in the AAA rosters due to injury or whatever have you, if the batting order is a little funkadelic to your liking, that is unfortunately what we're going to be going with. So good luck to you. Good luck to your team. Let me know in the comments who you're rooting for and who you think is going to win. And don't cheat. I'll know if you cheat. And as we get ready to hop in this tournament, if you're excited for March Madness on MLB The Show, like the video and give a subscription to the channel. We're trying to grow this thing, and those subscriptions go a long way. So without further ado, let's go to the first round of the tournament. All right, so we kicked off the tournament with the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Miami Marlins. And you know what? The opening game of the tournament, it got the honor of being featured in our stream, but a tough situation for these two teams, as the winner was gonna have to take on the Atlanta Braves. Top of the first, Brian De La Cruz decided to get his name all over this game at the start. Had an amazing catch to end the first inning on the top half, but he wasn't quite done. Bottom of the first, Jazz Chisholm decided to start the tournament in a big way. He had a 2 RBI single, and then shortly after, Brian De La Cruz puts it into the seats, and before we know it, we blink and the Miami Marlins are up 5-0. Fast forwarding now, top of the third, Contreras trying to get the Brewers back on track, drives a double into the gap. The Brewers get the first run. However, he is thrown out as he tries to stretch that double into a triple, leaving the Brewers with just 1 run. And after that lethal start by Miami, they only recorded 1 hit the remainder of the game. But the Brewers could not score any other runs, and the Marlins win the opener 5-1 and will face the Braves in the Sweet 16. For game number 2, it would be the Tigers as the 25 seed taking on the 8-seeded Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto would waste no time at all in this game. Bo Bichette setting the tone immediately with a home run, and the Tigers would very quickly learn they do not enjoy facing Kevin Gausman. Bottom of the third inning, the Jays are already up by 1. Back-to-back walks sets up Turner for an RBI double. Bo Bichette coming around to score, setting up the 2-run lead. And then moments later, that lead would become 3 runs as Biggio would get the ground out. Jays looking strong. Bottom of the 5th. Look, today is just a Toronto Blue Jays kind of day, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sends a 2-run shot, and the Blue Jays now up 5-0. Bottom of the 7th, the domination continues from Toronto. Detroit had no fight here. Vlad, you see it here, his second home run of the game puts an end to the scoring, puts an end to Detroit's hopes in this tournament as the Blue Jays get the victory 7-0, and Kevin Gausman throws a complete game shutout. Devers would get things started on defense with a very costly error. After Moreno's single moved Walker to second, Arizona would strike first as Eugenio Suarez would bring home 2, hitting a double to center field. Couple innings later in the 6th, a man that just feels like he's built for March Madness, feels like he's built for the clutch moment, Jack Peterson, one of my favorite cards if I'm playing Diamond Dynasty in MLB The Show, puts a bomb into center field, giving a 3-1 lead. Over the top of the 9, we've got a little bit of drama. Devers had the error earlier in the game, but this time he reaches due to a throwing error by Perdomo. A slow fielder's choice would leave 2 on for the Red Sox, and Arizona would have to call on Paul Sewald for the final 2 outs of the game, but an incredible start from Zach Gallen. Yoshida would then hit a single to load the bases up for Boston. However, Trevor Story would strike out. A sac fly would cut the lead down. Sadly, O'Neill would get caught looking to end a very dramatic 9th and advance Arizona into the Sweet 16. On to game number 4, the 29-seeded Athletics traveling to Houston to take on their division foe, the 4th-seeded Houston Astros. And the Oakland A's were looking to make an impact early. Top of the 2nd, Brent Rooker hits a leadoff double, and he would end up scoring after back-to-back groundouts, leaving the Athletics to go up 1 early. Bottom of the 3rd, the Astros decided to get a leadoff double this time. However, their fortunes were scored via a single, as Alex Bregman would bring in Myers to tie the game at 1. Bottom of the 4th now, Kyle Tucker not having it. Does not want to see this upset bid this early in the tournament. Puts one over the left field wall. The Astros now leading 2-1, looking to take momentum. However, in the top of the 5th, Shea Langoliers would come up and lead off the inning with a double. A fielder's choice from Toro would bring Shea home, and the game would find itself tied. But then, later in the inning, 2 runners on, and Allen goes yard. Next thing you know, the A's are up 5-2, looking to pull off a shocker in Houston. And then it happened again. Zach Gillies said, I got one of those too. Hitting a 2-run shot, the Athletics now up 7-2 with a chance to shock the world. Bottom of the 9th, A's still hanging on tight to that 5-run lead. A leadoff single looked to cause a little drama potentially. However, Diaz would ground into a double play, and the 29-seeded Oakland Athletics, the 2nd worst team in the game, have upset the 4-seeded Astros and will move on to the Sweet 16. On to the next game now, the 20-seeded Angels taking on the 13-seeded Cubs in a big opportunity because one of these teams gets a shot to take on Oakland in the next round. Obviously, we sometimes see in March Madness, a low seed goes on a bit of a run, but you got to be kind of licking your chops a little bit. Top of the 1st, Mike Trout, curious how he'd perform in this tournament, gets a quick single. Couple batters later, Taylor Ward puts one over the wall, and the Angels find themselves up by 2 early on. Top of the 3rd inning, still 2-0. Taylor Ward would get on base yet again, and Anthony Rendon would step up in this case. He's actually playing right now in this tournament. An RBI double would extend the lead out to 3 runs. Bottom of the 5th, the Cubs looking for spark, and they finally find it in the name of Yan Gomes, who sends one over the bleachers into left field. Top 7, Angels with a big opportunity, bases loaded, nobody out. The Angels would score, but it was on a double play by Anthony Rendon. After that, McMoniak would ground out. So the Angels are up 4-1, but a big what if, only getting 1 run out of a very, very powerful scenario to score. Bottom half of the same inning, the Cubs answer right back. Yan Gomes yet again with the RBI, this time roping a single through. However, a similar fate would end the Cubs inning as Nick Madrigal would hit into a double play, ending a potential rally. Bottom 8, the Cubs running out of time here. Not much left in this one. 2 runners on. There's 1 out, and Cody Bellinger up at the plate. Unfortunately for Cody, he flies out to Moniak. Suzuki walks, loading up the bases for Christopher Morrell. chance to be a hero. This, a big opportunity here, and a hero Christopher Morel was. With the bases loaded, he would clear the bags with a double to not only tie the game, but give the Cubs a very sudden 5-4 lead in a true March Madness moment. Top 9 now, Mike Trout would strike out, and Brandon Drury, with the season on the line, would ground out. The Angels season comes to a close, and the Cubs will be hosting the Oakland Athletics. Moving into the next one, the 28-seeded Rockies looking to take on the 5-seeded Yankees, looking for similar fate to what they saw from the Athletics. However, the Yankees did not waste any time here as Aaron Judge immediately in the first inning hits a home run, putting the Yankees up 1. Bottom of the third, it's a Bronx Bombers kind of day. Giancarlo Stanton standing on first base, and Anthony Rizzo would bring Stanton and himself home with a 2-run home run, putting the Yankees up by 3. Bottom of the 7th now, going further into the game, the Rockies still have not been able to find that offense yet, and Juan Soto decides to show off what he can bring to New York with a 2-run shot of his own. Top of the 8th, Colorado finally getting a little bit of life is Chuck Nasty. Charlie Blackmon puts one over the wall over 400 feet. However, this would not be enough. 8 dominant innings for Garrett Cole. The door gets shut. The Yankees move on with a 5-1 victory. Winner of this one going to be taking on the Yankees, the 21-seeded Reds taking on the 12-seeded Tampa Bay Rays. As a biased Reds fan, I'm hoping in this first tournament my Reds have a good showing. And this one started as a pitcher's duel. However, things got interesting in the 4th inning. Randy Arozarena would go yard off of Hunter Green to start the inning. And next thing you knew, Hunter Green was removed from the game, meaning the bullpen was going to have to pitch from the start of the 4th inning through the rest of the way. Bottom of the 5th now, the next inning, a bunt single and a walk puts 2 on, and Yandy Diaz would make his first impact of the tournament with an RBI single, giving the Rays a 2-0 lead. Bottom of the 6th, Reds still yet to score, and Jose Siri brings Isaac Paredes around to score with an RBI double. Later in the inning, another ground out would leave the Rays up by 4. Bottom 7, each inning, you can see this bullpen for Cincinnati starting to struggle here, and the icing would be put on the cake with a solo shot by Lau to go up 5-0. Top of the 8th, the Reds would finally get their first run as Christian Encarnacion Strand would hit a leadoff double. That would allow him to score later in the inning on a Will Benson ground out. However, bottom of the 8th, the Rays would add insurance with Lowe's second home run of the game, creating a 6-1 difference in the scoreboard, and that's where this one would be left. Tampa Bay moving on to take on divisional foe New York. Up next, the 18-seeded Guardians taking on the 15-seeded Mariners. And I'm going to be honest, it was pretty hard to see my Reds lose and then immediately watch former Reds legend Luis Castillo pitch for Seattle, and pitch he did. We go to the bottom of the 3rd of this game in a 0-0 game, and we would see the Rojas would get a ground out here to put the Mariners up by 1, and then J.P. Crawford with a nice single to give the Mariners a 2-0 lead. Bottom of the 6th now, Mitch Garver steps in and says, you know what, let me grab an RBI real quick, get a little extra cushion for the push-in. Crawford scoring from second on the play. Mariners up 3-0, and that's all we got to say about this one. Luis Castillo, easily the performance of the tournament for a pitcher. Cleveland would only get 1 hit in this entire game. Mariners moving on 3-0. The defending World Series champions, the Rangers, as a 7 seed, taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates, the 26 seed. And in the top of the 2nd, look, hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Jack Sawinski got a leadoff double. Brian Hayes rips one to right field off the glove, which put the defending champs down early. Fast forward to the top of the 5th inning, the Pirates looking to create a little bit of space here. They would find back-to-back runs. O'Neal Cruz would double bring Peguero around to score, and then Brian Reynolds immediately would follow this with a hit of his own. Pirates now up by 3. However, bottom half of the same inning, we'd finally see the Texas Rangers strike, and they would strike in a big way. Jonah Heim, 2-run home run, setting the deficit to 1. Speaking of home runs, top of the 6th, Jack Sawinski without fear. He's ready for the bright lights of March. He puts one over dead center, and the Pirates take a 2-run lead yet again. Bottom of the 7th, Rangers fighting, scratching and clawing, trying to make it happen. They get the deficit down to 1 off the Tavares double. However, he gets forced out just after the Pirates keep a 1-run lead going into the 8th. Top of the 9th now, opportunity for the Pirates. They're only up by 1. They got to be careful, and I got 2 words for you. I'm not talking about DX here. I'm talking about Rowdy Tellez. The man hits a 9th inning home run, and the Pirates find themselves up 5-3, 3 outs away from moving on. However, the Rangers are the defending World Series champions for a reason, looking to prove that worth here in the March Madness tournament, as Carter would get a double to start the inning. He's on 3rd and 2 outs. Jonah Heim puts a double into left field, yet again cutting the lead to 1. Jonah Heim standing on 2nd base, and the Pirates knew what they had to do. With the game on the line, they had to call the mommy milker honker. If you know, you know. Aroldis Chapman comes in, gets Tavares to ground out, and another bracket gets busted here as the Pirates upset the Rangers 5-4. We move to the state of Missouri for the next contest as the Royals and the Cardinals match up. Royals the 23 seed, Cardinals the 10 seed. I've heard a lot of bad things about the Cardinals, but MLB The Show, hey, they still love them. And I always say you can't count the Cardinals out. And my Lord, this game got wild in a hurry. Top of the 1st, Bobby Witt already standing on base. When Pasquantino, the man I call Vinny Pasta, when I don't feel like saying see, that's why. That's why he's Vinny Pasta, okay? It's hard to say that sometimes. 2-run home run to right field. And just in case if you're curious, Hunter Renfroe said, you know what? I want to do that too. Back-to-back home runs lead to a 3-0 lead for the Royals. However, bottom half, Cardinals wasting no time. Back-to-back doubles. Nolan Arenado gets on base. Contreras gets on base. And just like that, 2 RBIs from Contreras cut the deficit to 1. Bottom of the 2nd now, that 1-run deficit was not meant to be long as Walker sends it over. Look, he's a young player. He's an exciting player. Jordan Walker make it happening here in March to tie the game up. Bottom of the 3rd, Contreras says, hey, there's always stars in March. I'm trying to be one. He's got 2 RBIs already, and he gets 2 more RBIs, hitting a 2-run home run to center field. St. Louis now up 5-3. Top of the 5th, the home runs just continue in this game. Salvador Perez sends out a solo shot, cutting the lead down to 1. Top of the 6th, tough break here for St. Louis. Garcia, RBI single to tie the game, and then a ball deflects off of Wynn, which allows the bases to be loaded. Salvador Perez steps back in the box and answers the call with 2 RBIs, and suddenly the Royals lead 7-5. Top 7, MJ Melendez. Feels like we need a little bit more insurance. A ground rule double bounces over the wall, and the Royals are now up 3. Top 9, look, if 3 wasn't enough, if Wise Man once said, 3 ain't enough, man, I need 5. Velasquez sends 1 final home run out for the Royals. A double play by Goldie in the bottom half of the 9th would allow the Royals to advance with a 10-5 victory. We've had a lot of drama in this tournament. Could we get some more as the bottom seed, the worst team, the 30-seeded White Sox, take on the 3-seeded Phillies? And we saw a little inspiration here as Dylan Cease was pitching an absolute gem. He and Zach Wheeler going back and forth. However, 2 outs in the 6th, it all comes crashing down, and it hurts inside. Bryce Harper, breathing the moments of March Madness, puts a 3-run homer over the wall, breaking the scoreless tie in very dramatic fashion. Fast forward now to the bottom of the 8th. White Sox trying to hang in there, give themselves a chance in the top of the 9th. It was not meant to be. Kyle Schwarber with the insurance home run. Phillies now up 4. Top of the 9th, Andrew Benintendi gets a single. However, nothing else to show y'all. Moncada flies out, and the White Sox sheepishly escape the tournament without a run scored. 19-seeded Padres taking on the 14-seeded Mets. A lot of questions about the San Diego Padres, how they've managed things these last couple years. This team looking to prove a point. When they start as Jerkson Profar, brings in Manny Machado with an RBI single at the top of the 2nd, giving the Padres a quick 1-0 lead. Bottom of the 3rd, though, the Mets were not going to let that lead stand for long. They get 3 straight hits that absolutely changed the course of this game. Brett Beatty hits a home run, Harrison Bader with a double, and then a little later in the inning, Jeff McNeil, a 2-run bomb allows the Mets to go up 3-1. The next inning, bottom of the 4th, the home run parade continues as Starling Marte hits a leadoff home run. Alvarez goes yard after a Stewart single, and then Beatty, for the second time in this game, hits a home run. And at the snap of a finger, the Mets go from down 1-0 to up 7-1. They've entered cruise control. We fast forward to the 7th inning here. Francisco Lindor decides to add another RBI, stretching the game to an 8-1 lead. Top of the 9th, nothing really to show for the Padres here. The game closes with 3 flyouts in the 9th inning, and after scoring the first run, the Mets score 8 unanswered on San Diego to end their tournament dreams. The 27-seeded Nationals looking to take on the 6-seeded Minnesota Twins. A brisk 3 innings get this thing started, and then things get interesting. Joey Gallo, looking to maybe get a little bit of revenge on his old team, hits a solo shot in the top of the 4th to get the scoring started. Nationals now up 1-0. And we fast forward to the 9th, where the solo shot was actually all that was needed. However, in the top of the 9th, the Nationals would add a little bit of insurance. Joey Meneses with an RBI double. Garcia would then get a hit to right field, scoring 2 more. Bottom of the 9th, 4-0 would hold. This was it. The Twins get 2 runners on base, but fail to score as a 27 seed grabs a win in a shutout victory over Minnesota. It's the final game of the opening round. One more spot in the Sweet 16 remains as the 22-seeded San Francisco Giants take on the 11-seeded Baltimore Orioles. And all I'm going to say here, folks, Baltimore was ready for the start of March Madness. Why? Because they brought 2 runs home in the first inning. Mullins gets an RBI single and a second run in there as well, and a quick 2-0 lead for the Orioles. 1 inning later, bottom of the 2nd, that young talent for Baltimore thrives in this moment as a 2-out double by Gunnar Henderson brings in the 3rd run of the game, setting the Orioles up 3-0. Top of the 4th, San Francisco Giants maybe recognizing the urgency of the moment. They finally give themselves a little bit of pulse. They check that neck one time and a little Soler power. Jorge Soler, 2-run bomb, cuts the deficit to 1, 3-2 Orioles. Bottom of the 7th, Gunnar Henderson looking to make a big impact in this tournament, strikes yet again. Not only does he score Westberg like he did earlier in the game, but this time he scores himself as well with a 2-run home run. Ryan O'Hearn would also add on with an RBI double. Orioles now up 6-2. Top of the 8th, Giants trying to stay in this thing. Estrada with the sacrifice fly cuts the deficit to 3, but they still got some work to do, and that work would become impossible because in the bottom of the 8th, Jorge Mateo would hit an RBI triple, Westberg with an RBI single, and then it was back-to-back home runs. Adley Rutschman goes yard for 2. Santander follows up with a solo shot, and suddenly what might have been an approachable game turns into an easy 11-3 victory as the Orioles finish off and round out the round of 16. All right, moving into the Sweet 16, we kick it off. The 1-seeded Braves. Remember, the Braves and the Dodgers receiving byes in this tournament. The Braves have to take on the division foe, Miami Marlins, who had an impressive start to their opening game before fading out and finding some struggle. Top of the 2nd, though, the Marlins look to start fast yet again. Sanchez hits a home run to right, getting things rolling quick, and Miami maybe thinking upset here. Bottom of the 2nd, though, Atlanta shoots those dreams down immediately. Jared Kelenic goes yard in the bottom half, and we find ourselves equaled up at 1 apiece. Next inning, bottom of the 3rd, Atlanta would look to take over. Ozzie Albies, 433 feet to lead off the inning. And then fast forward a little bit later in the same inning, Sean Murphy sends out a 3-run home run, and the Braves very suddenly have a 5-1 lead. Top of the 4th, we see Fortes get himself an RBI single. The Finns making it a 3-run game, trying to stay in there. However, in the bottom half, the Braves apparently took that one personally. They hit a 3-run homer in the 3rd. They hit another 3-run homer in the 4th. This time, Matt Olson on the swing. Braves up 8-2. Bottom of the 8th now, Acuna gets himself an RBI double, making it 9-2. A 10th run would score on a double play. The Braves running away from Miami, the first team to book a ticket to the Elite Eight with a 10-2 victory. The Braves waiting to see who wins between the 9-seeded Diamondbacks and the 8-seeded Blue Jays. And how about this? You want to make an impact in March. The Diamondbacks lead this game off with back-to-back home runs. Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, no time wasted. Diamondbacks up 2 right at the start. Top of the 4th, they use a little bit of small ball this time. Eugenio Suarez, Reds legend, hits a sacrifice fly, and the Diamondbacks find themselves up 3-0. Top of the 7th, Blue Jays still yet to get on the board, and it is a 2-run home run for Christian Walker. And then Moreno brings the jocked up voice, Jock Peterson, around to score. Diamondbacks up 6, Blue Jays in trouble. Bottom half, though, the Blue Jays do finally get themselves on the board here in the 7th. Kevin Kiermaier with a double to right field, but they've got a lot of work still to do. Top of the 8th, the small spark by Toronto, short-lived. Lane Thomas with a leadoff home run in the 8th inning. The Diamondbacks up 7-1. Fast forward to the 9th, the Blue Jays would get one last strike from Kevin Kiermaier, his second RBI of the game, and that was all the offense Toronto could muster up, and that just isn't going to be enough. Arizona moving on to the Elite 8 with a 7-2 victory. In the biggest shock of the first round, the 29-seeded Athletics moving on to take on the 13-seeded Cubs. The Cubs looking to avoid a similar fate to the Houston Astros. The hero from the opening round game, Christopher Morrow, would come in with an RBI double to center field in the second inning, continuing to show a strong tournament performance. Bottom of the 5th, both teams really struggling to find base runners, struggling to get people on base. Bush with an RBI double gets Yan Gomes around to score. Cubs go up by 2. We fast forward all the way to the 9th here. The Athletics still yet to get on the board when J.J. Bleday draws a walk. And suddenly, Esteury Ruiz with an opportunity to be a hero. A team that hasn't had a pulse all game has the tying run at the plate. After a hard-working at-bat, unfortunately, Esteury Ruiz would pop out. And Oakland's Cinderella story ends after only putting up 2 hits against the Cubs. Up next, it is an AL East battle. Winner facing Chicago. It's the 12-seeded Rays against the 5-seeded Yankees. And this one was chaotic early. Randy Arozarena in the first inning with a 3-run bomb. And Tampa Bay up 3-0, looking to dominate. However, bottom half, the Yankees with a quick answer. 2 runners on here for Anthony Rizzo. And he, too, will hit a 3-run home run. And after the first inning, it is 3-3, and we are looking at maybe the craziest game of the tournament. Well, about that. Tampa ended up turning this game into the most dominant performance of the tournament. So rather than me tell you play-by-play how they bent the New York Yankees over their knee and spanked them into submission, enjoy this montage of the Yankees being exposed in the postseason. Hey Yankee fans, I'm still here. Hopefully you're still here. I know sometimes Yankee fans don't take jokes that well. There's probably, if this video gets a lot of attention, there's probably somebody that's already like 27, or 20, whatever it is. I think it's 27. It might be 26. I don't know. I don't care. I enjoy when the Yankees lose baseball games. I'm a Reds fan. My team doesn't win as much as I'd like, but man, I like when the Yankees lose. But hey, Yankees fans, you got something to feel positive about, because in the 8th inning, Torres gets an RBI double, and you only lost by 10. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, because if you don't like the Yankees, you loved what just happened. And if you do like the Yankees, you should be subscribed anyway. That way, when we do March Madness on MLB The Show 25, maybe the Yankees go on a run. Maybe it'll be their year. But for now, the Rays are moving on. Up next, the 15-seeded Mariners taking on the 2-seeded Dodgers. Unfortunately for the Mariners, they would not be able to pitch Luis Castillo back-to-back games here. And in the bottom of the second, they would feel that. James Outman with an RBI double would put the Dodgers up 1-0. Chris Taylor would later that inning add a sacrifice fly, 2-0 Los Angeles. Top of the fifth, though, Mariners hanging in there, only down by 2, and it's the big dumper. You knew the Mariners would have some fight, and who better than Cal Raleigh to send it over the wall. Mariners now down by 1. Bottom of the sixth, things, unfortunately for Mariners fans, it would start to break open here with a 3-run homer here, stretches the lead 5-1. Chris Taylor would then send one to right field for a single, 6-1 Dodgers. Top of the ninth, Mitch Garver, refusing to let the Mariners go down without a fight, hits his second home run of the tournament. However, nothing more would come of it. The Dodgers move on with a 6-2 victory. Next game here, interesting scenario. 2 of our bigger upsets from the opening round of the tournament. One of these 2 are moving on to the Elite Eight and moving on to a matchup with the 2-seeded Dodgers as the 26-seeded Pirates take on the 23-seeded Royals. We get a quiet start here from the 2 remaining bracket busters, but things picked up in a hurry. A sacrifice fly, though, would start the scoring from Salvador Perez and allow the Royals to have the opening lead. Top of the fourth, though, the Pirates would give an immediate answer. Andrew McCutchen, a legend for Pittsburgh, and a legendary moment for him. Leadoff home run to begin the inning. The score, 1-1. Next inning, top of the fifth, O'Neal Cruz brings Peguero around with an RBI double, and then it's a mini onslaught here from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Andrew McCutchen, single. Jack Sawinski, single. Cabrian Hayes, single. All 3 of these in a row. 3 straight runs come across the plate, and the Pirates find themselves with a 5-1 lead. Top of the seventh now, Pirates going for the kill shot in this situation. Yet again, 3 different RBI producers for this team. This time, Reynolds gets himself a double. Sawinski gets a double because he found it fun. Henry Davis decided to do a little bit less and get a single, but the Pirates, very similar to what they did in the 5th, they do it in the 7th. Pirates now up 8-1. Bottom 7th now. This is March. This is what March Madness is all about. The upsets, the shock, the sudden star performances, and once in a while a team having a little bit of fight. And the Royals were in that spot, refusing to give in. Velasquez with an RBI double. Later in the inning, Melendez would get a sacrifice fly. The deficit is still 5, but at 8-3, anything's possible. Bottom of the 9th now, Kansas City, their final chance. MJ Melendez gets himself another RBI to make it 8-4. Later in the 9th, runners on the corners, and the Pirates bring in David Bednar, needing 2 big outs. He would strike out Bobby Witt. He would get Salvador Perez to ground out, and the 26-seeded Pirates are on to the Elite Eight with a big matchup against the Dodgers. 2 more matchups here in the Sweet 16, and we kick that off with the 14-seeded Mets taking on the 3-seeded Phillies. So we've seen all 5 NL East teams into the Sweet 16, and 2 of them are getting eliminated because they're playing each other. However, unlike the first round here against Chicago, the Phillies decided to go ahead and score in a hurry rather than wait until a little later. But yet again, it's Bryce Harper hitting a home run here, and a Philly finds themselves up by 2. And spoiler alert, folks, it's all they needed. Bottom of the 5th, Brandon Marsh would hit a solo shot, extending the lead 3-0. And then finally in the bottom of the 7th, you can see it here, Rojas with an RBI double to center field, 4-0 in the 7th inning. And that was all they needed. Why? Because for the 2nd straight game of this tournament, the Phillies have shut out their opponent. They have not given up a single run yet. They look like the team to beat going into the Elite Eight. However, we still got to find out their opponent as the 27-seeded Nationals take on the 11-seed Orioles. The Nationals, after pitching a shutout in their first game, find themselves in a little bit of trouble here as the Orioles score in the bottom of the 2nd. Austin Hayes with a solo shot later in the inning. Westberg is going to add a second RBI with a single. Orioles up by 2. In honor of playing for the final spot of the Elite Eight, we skip forward to the 8th because elite pitching was on full display by both teams. The opening round allowed Washington to get the upset here in the Sweet 16. It's allowing them a fighting chance. Nick Senzel gets a leadoff single, and Robles brings him home with an RBI double. 2-1 now the score, but unfortunately for the Nationals, 3 straight outs would occur with a runner in scoring position. They go into the bottom of the 8th, still down by 1. Skipping back ahead to the top of the 9th, Cano is in for the save for Baltimore, but things start getting a little bit dicey. Joey Meneses gets a single. Joey Gallo gets a walk. The Nats have 2 runners on, nobody out. Unfortunately, Stone Garrett strikes out. A little later in the inning, Nick Senzel has a chance to be a hero. However, he pops out with runners on, and the Orioles survive to fight another day. They'll take on the Phillies in the Elite 8. Elite 8 action is upon us now as the 1-seeded Braves take on the 9-seeded Diamondbacks. Ladies and gentlemen, it was time for some heavy drama in this round. However, top of the first, Jock Peterson would waste no time at all, getting an RBI, hitting the ball off of Ozzie Albies to begin the scoring here. Bottom of the 7th. Yes, all the way to the bottom of the 7th. The Braves, after an amazing Sweet 16 performance on offense, they were struggling. However, Arcia finally finds a run for this team, bringing in Jared Kelenic on the RBI double. We are tied at 1. Fast forward to the bottom of the 9th. Jared Kelenic, who scored that run in the 7th, would step into the box with a chance to walk it off and be a hero for Atlanta. However, he would hit into a double play, and for the first time in March Madness, we got free baseball. It's extra innings in MLB The Show March Madness. To the top of the 10th, Corbin Carroll, wasting no time, gets an RBI single. You got to take advantage of that. Runner on second base. They're up 2-1. However, Christian Walker would hit into a double play, ending the inning. To the bottom of the 10th. Look, if you're watching this, if you're a younger player, if you're a baseball player, you got to be willing to swing the bat. Arcia stares down strike 3 to start the inning. However, Ronald Acuna keeps things alive with an RBI single, and he ends up getting to second base on a steal. Austin Riley, however, at the plate with an opportunity to win the game. He also strikes out looking, and we head to the 11th. Drama in the top of the 11th. Walker scoring on a fielder's choice. However, then Arizona adds 2 more runs with a Lane Thomas single and a Lourdes Gurriel single. 5-2 going to the bottom of the 11th. Season on the line for the Braves, and they didn't have much in them. A couple ground outs bring Austin Riley to score. Michael Harris up at the plate, down 2 with 2 outs. He can't get it done. He flies out. The Diamondbacks punch their ticket to the Final Four with a 5-3 victory. Couple surprises here in this Elite 8 matchup. The 13-seeded Cubs against the 12-seeded Rays. Cubs benefit from the Athletics upset, and Tampa has looked absolutely incredible so far, dominating the Reds, dominating the Yankees. And one of the big reasons for that is Yandy Diaz. He's had an amazing tournament, maybe an MVP push for him in this tournament, and he starts it hot, bottom of the first, with a leadoff home run. Top of the second, Cubs trying to stay in this thing. They look to answer in a hurry. Yan Gomes hits a hard grounder, which is going to bring in a run. And then Bush says, you know what? Hey, I got a little bit of time for me here. He hits the home run. The Cubs now lead 3-1. Bottom of the 5th. Yandy Diaz, a lot of fight for this man. A lot of grit, a lot of determination. Yandy Diaz, his second home run of the game. Moments later, the game ends up tied as a ground rule double. Knots things up at 3. But that's not enough. The Rays are still going as Harold Ramirez lines one to the outfield, scoring 2. And the Rays enter the inning down 3-1. They leave the bottom of the 5th up 5-3. One inning later, bottom of the 6th, Yandy Diaz gets a single, and Caballero is on third base because of it. Love's infield choice extends Tampa's lead to 3. Bottom 7th, Jose Siri. They can feel the blood in the water. It is a solo shot for Jose Siri. Rays now up 7-3. Top of the 9th, Garrett Clevenger coming in to get the save, and on 19 pitches, he strikes out the side. The Cubs are heading home. Tampa heading to the Final Four to take on Arizona with a 7-3 victory. The lowest seeded remaining, 26-seeded Pirates against the 2-seeded Dodgers, and this is a big opportunity. We're going to fast forward all the way to the 5th inning, and I want you guys to watch closely here. Mookie Betts up at the plate with 2 runners on. The score is still tied at 0 when this strike call right here is missed. It looks like it's a strike. It ends up being called a ball. Mookie Betts with a walk, and Freddie Freeman would follow this up with a 2 RBI single as the Dodgers go up by 2, and Pittsburgh fans truly beside themselves here. Top of the 7th, though, the Pirates find their way. They keep fighting. They're not going to give in to the frustration. O'Neal Cruz has been a nice little RBI machine for these guys in the tournament. He does it again in this situation, cutting the deficit to 1. 2-1, Dodgers in the lead. Bottom half, same inning, Mookie Betts steps up and says, you know what? There's no drama needed this time. Smacks the ball a blistering 450 feet. And the Dodgers now go back up 3-1. And then it's top of the 9th. And a moment that will give you chills. A moment that will course through your veins forever. Peguero lines out. O'Neal Cruz strikes out. 1 out remaining. Pirates down 2. Brian Reynolds gets a single, which puts the tying run on base. 2 runners on, and then Andrew McCutchen steps to the plate. And in a story that the author known as March Madness only they could write, McCutchen sends a double down left field, scoring 2 runs. And the 26-seeded Pirates tie the game at 4 with a chance to do the unthinkable, but they've got to get 3 outs in the bottom half first. 2 outs now. Mookie Betts coming up to the plate, and the winning run is standing on first. The drama we live for in March. We saw what Mookie did in his last at bat, and then one of the biggest dark clouds that our sport has ever seen. Very similar to the 5th inning, a controversial call on what appeared to be a strike allowed Mookie Betts to draw yet another walk. And very similar to the 5th inning, Freddie Freeman would step in, take advantage, get a hit, but this time it was for the game. It was for a berth in the Final Four. We here at Cody Hollis 21 on YouTube would like to take a second to say that we do honor the decisions of our umpires, our officials, the people that we believe in. We acknowledge the controversy that has occurred here, and we understand the way some fans may feel by the result. This isn't what we wanted to see. This isn't what we wanted to see, but sometimes in sports, things like this happen. To the Pittsburgh Pirates, I tip my cap for an amazing tournament run. To Andrew McCutchen, I thank you for one of the best moments that MLB The Show March Madness may ever see. On to the final game of the Elite Eight. After the heavy controversy, the 11-seeded Orioles were taking on the 3-seeded Phillies. And the Phillies, to me, coming into this round, have been the best team, and they start hot yet again. I was watching the game. I started hearing a public apology for somebody. There was some sort of scandal. Some guy said something racist. I don't know. There was a dog. There was a fire. I don't know. All I do know is Nick Castellanos found out about it and hit a 2-run homer. Phillies up 2. Top of the 3rd for the first time in the tournament. What a crazy moment. Gunnar Henderson hits a sac fly, which may not seem like much, but this is the first time the Phillies have allowed a run in the entire tournament. Bottom of the 3rd, Philadelphia going to waste no time, though. Nick Castellanos going to rip a single, and the Phillies find themselves back up 3-1. Bottom 4 now. Phillies seeing the opportunity. JT Realmuto sends one over the left field wall. A guy that's been a stud. He's had his moments. He shines real bright here in the Elite Eight. JT Realmuto puts the Phillies up 4-1. Baltimore in a lot of trouble. Bottom of the 6th, Realmuto on base again. However, it's the Brandon Marsh hit. Marsh with a single. Realmuto scores on that play. 5-1 Phillies. Bottom of the 7th. What was probably the dagger here. Baltimore trying to stay in there, trying to fight, but Nick Castellanos hits a double and ends up with his 4th RBI of the game. Bryson Stott follows it up later that inning. 7-1 Phillies. And then the top of the 9th, nobody on. Cedric Mullins will fly out to who else? Nick Castellanos. An incredible Elite Eight performance by him. And our Final Four is set. Rays versus Diamondbacks. Phillies versus Dodgers. One of these 4 teams will come out as your March Madness champion. And before we head into the Final Four, if you've made it this far in the video, I ask that you do me a solid. If you have not already, take a quick look real fast. Just a real quick look. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. We want to do a lot of fun content like this. We've got Diamond Dynasty content, a No Money Spent series. We got a tip series as well. We're going to be bringing you guys things inside Diamond Dynasty, outside of Diamond Dynasty, and the more love you guys give on these videos, the more of these videos we're able to produce. So if you've been enjoying this, a like and a subscription go a long way. But now, on to the Final Four. The Final Four kicks off 12-seeded Rays versus the 9-seeded Diamondbacks, and we are at the Kingdome. The new stadium in the game, our neutral site for the Final Four in Arizona. Bottom of the first, they start the neutral site festivities loudly. A little 2-out double by Gabriel Moreno. Arizona grabbing the lead. Top of the second, the Rays find some spark from someone other than Yandy Diaz as Isaac Paredes hits a home run. Later in the inning, Caballero and Pinto would go back-to-back on doubles. They looked like the same hit. It looked like the Rays did the same thing 2 times, but the Rays grabbed themselves a 3-2 lead. Bottom of the third. I said it earlier in the tournament. There's just something about Jock Peterson that makes it feel like he'd step up here, right? Bottom of the third, he did it again. Home run sneaks just inside the foul pole in left field. We got ourselves a tie game. Bottom of the sixth now, intensity picking up, still tied at 3. Championship berth at stake. Geraldo Perdomo sends one to center field. Eugenio Suarez, Reds legend, ends up scoring on the play, and the Diamondbacks are up 4-3 and are 9 outs away. Top of the seventh, Pinto having himself a really special game here with a lot on the line. Jose Siri gonna score on an RBI single. We are tied at 4. Top of the ninth now, Yandy Diaz up at the plate with a chance to be a hero, a chance to put his team up and then close the game in the bottom half. Unfortunately, a man who has carried Tampa in a lot of ways through the tournament so far hits it to a 3-6-3 double play. Arizona gets out of the inning. We go to the bottom half. Bottom of the ninth, Corbin Carroll leads it off with a double, gets himself advanced to third. Christian Walker intentionally walked, and Jock Peterson steps back at the plate. He had a home run earlier. He's had a decent little tournament, and no surprise, Jock Peterson walk-off single. The Arizona Diamondbacks are heading to the MLB The Show March Madness Championship. But now we've got to determine the next question. Who are they going to face? The 3-seeded Phillies or the 2-seeded Dodgers? Now, we talked about the controversy of which Los Angeles got to this game, and they benefited from some major help yet again. Bottom of the fourth, they got bailed yet again. However, this time it wasn't an umpire and a strike ball call. It wasn't a controversial call. However, this time they were assisted by Trey Turner. His error would allow the Dodgers to get on the board in the 4th inning and start the scoring. Bottom of the 6th, we've talked about him a lot now after that Pirates game. Mookie Betts believing in himself, not listening to all the hatred that came through after that Pittsburgh game. He hits a solo bomb, and the Dodgers take a 2-0 lead. Top of the 7th, Phillies running out of time. However, they decided to show that they could do more than just hit home runs. JT Realmuto scores after Rojas gets a single to right field, and then Schwarby's got to do what Schwarby's got to do. He hits a single as well, and after 7 innings, we are tied 2 apiece. Top of the 9th, Phillies leading things off. We've been talking about him a lot. He had a big game in the Elite 8, an even bigger game in the Final 4. JT Realmuto, 385 feet to dead center, and the Phillies are now up 3-2. They do fail to score any other runs that inning, but they are in the bottom of the 9th with 3 outs standing between them and a national championship berth. Freddie Freeman starts the inning, chases a fastball. Max Muncy gets a 2-out single, which allows James Outman to step in the plate. If he can find a gap, we're tied. If he can find the power, the Dodgers are in the championship. However, and what some would say is justice served, James Outman is caught looking. Strike 3 called, and it is going to be the Phillies and the Diamondbacks for the MLB Championship, March Madness style. One final game here. An incredible road to this point. Thank you all so much for being a part of this video. And shout out to my editor, Hunt, for working with me on this. This is a lot of footage. I recorded a lot of footage. I've typed up this beautiful script. I've tested my reading comprehension. And all of that has led to this game, this moment. And in the bottom of the second, the scoring would begin. As JT Realmuto continues his hot stretch of games, a sac fly would bring Nick Castellanos to score. Phillies up 1-0. Top of the fourth, Diamondbacks finally strike. And my God, do they strike with venom. Eugenio Suarez, over 400 feet. Over 400 feet, a 3-run home run. Diamondbacks suddenly up 3-1. Top of the fifth, 2 outs. Ketel Marte steps in and he says, I want a little bit more. Solo shot from Ketel Marte. The Diamondbacks now up 4-1. Bottom of the seventh, crunch time truly stepping in here on the Phillies. They've got to try to find a way, and the man's been everywhere. JT Realmuto hits a single. He steals second base, and then Rojas brings him in. The Phillies have life. They're down 4-2, but the clock is ticking. Top of the ninth, there are 2 outs, runners on the corner. The Phillies looking to get out of this and get a 2-run game. Lourdes Gurriel steps in, a chance to add some crucial insurance. He's had a quiet tournament. However, in an incredible moment, the cameras flash, and that swing is cash. A moment that any athlete would dream of in the brightest lights. Lourdes Gurriel, 3-run bomb, puts the Diamondbacks up by 5, leaving them 3 outs away from being March Madness champions. Bottom of the ninth, Ryan Thompson in to pitch, and it is a 7-2 game. Alec Boehm, he flies out. Bryson Stott grounds out to Ketel Marte, and then it's JT Realmuto. As hot as he's been these last few games, he would strike out swinging on the sinker, and the Diamondbacks are your champions of the first ever MLB The Show March Madness. So there you have it. 29 games, 30 teams competing. We had a lot of drama. We had some blowouts. We had some crazy performances, some wild runs, and a controversy around the Pirates that we'll be talking about for ages. However, at the end of the day, in what was a rematch of last year's National League Championship Series, the Diamondbacks eclipsed the Phillies once again, bringing home the first ever March Madness Championship. If you've made it this far in the video, first off, I just want to say thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I know this is something a little bit different than what you'd traditionally see in this community. However, sometimes you gotta be a little bit different. So hopefully you enjoyed what we put together here. This took a lot of time. This took a lot of effort. So if it's something you really loved, hey, help us out a little bit. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it around. Let this thing go viral, because if you want to see more of these, I gotta know that you want to see more of these. This was a ton of fun to do. I hope you loved it as much as I did. Congrats to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Until the next one, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Toodles.